Hello. Right, quick introduction to the next project. This is an International 434. It's a tractor from the mid-60s. As you can see, it's got a front loader on one end and a backhoe on the other end. It's roughly contemporary with a Massey 35 from the same sort of era. This is a bit cheaper because it's not as popular, and I think it's a bit heavier, which helps when you've got the backhoe on there. Even so, I have to have the front loader on with a concrete block on the forks of the front loader in order to counterweight the massive weight of that backhoe when I'm trying to manoeuvre about. So it is a bit clumsy, but it's done a lot of work for me, that backhoe, so it's a top piece of kit. Anyway, this was getting harder and harder to start, and then it wouldn't start at all. And now I think it's lack of compression. It's just worn out inside. Now the liners inside the engine are extractable and replaceable. The whole thing can be done with it in situ. But to me that was a bit of a daunting task because I've never done anything like this before. But then I saw a great video by Rachel at Steiner Motor Parts, I think it's called. I'll put a link in anyway. And that completely demystified the process for me. And I thought, yep, I could do this. So here we are. Let's have a go. I'm not entirely sure how to proceed, so what I'm going to do is just start pulling things apart. This time I've got a little pot for little things, and I've got an old wooden drawer for slightly bigger things. With some rather groovy lining paper. I'm hoping to avoid the situation I had with the Land Rover, of when I come to put it all back together, half the things have vanished. Anyhow, we'll see. So what makes me think we've got a compression problem here? Well, these engines have got a reputation for being tough to start, but this one was fine for starting. It was great. Once you put the glow plugs on for a good long time, 30 seconds or so, well 20-30 seconds, it would fire every time. But when it was running, it was giving out like a dark black smoke quite often, definitely when it was cold. When it stopped starting easily, it was fairly sudden, and I assumed it was a glow plug, so I got some new ones, a couple of new ones, and tested the old ones, and they seemed fine. But I just couldn't start it. No matter what I did, it just wouldn't start for ages. Then in one of my old books I found a little tip for, there's a book on marine engines which are very similar to these, and they said in there about putting a bit of oil inside the engine to, and the idea of that is you've got the cylinder with the piston inside it, and if they're all worn out, a teaspoon of oil running will make a seal around the edge, just enough to give you some compression to start. So what I did was get some bit of tube and sucked up some engine oil and spat it down. So with the tube I went down, this is the air inlet obviously, and I worked the tube down until I knew where it was, so down this one or down this one, and then spat out some oil and then heated it, then the glow plugs, and then cranked it, and it ran. And it ran like that for about 6 months, and then even that trick stopped working. So that's why I think that it's compression, and that's why I think it's worn out inside. But like I say, we're going to find out for sure. So what I can see in the inside of there, which you probably can't see on camera, is a right load of crap. It's like sludge. I don't know how that's got in there. Because I have changed the filters quite regularly. Not good at all. So I'm half tempted with that state of that first injector to just pull all the injectors and send them off for reconditioning and see what that does for us. But then looking at the rest of the condition of the rest of this, it really does need a rebuild. And I think if I do a proper job of it, it should be good for another 50 years. So down here is a handy little brass tap for draining the water system. But when I turn it, it squirts water straight over the starter motor. It's genius. Quick look here at the other side of the engine. So you obviously got the exhaust manifold here, a dynamo here, which has never worked to my knowledge. Dynamo is off, both the manifolds are off. Disconnected the fuel system. Cover off, have a look in here. So quite a lot of sludge built up in here, and yeah, loads on around here. Oops. So I'm laying all this out in a tray on some cardboard in the right sequence. Right, that's that. So that's all the cylinder head bolts. I put them on a diagram of the engine, so they can all go back where they belong. I shouldn't be able to lose any. So I think that's everything loose. What I don't know is how heavy it is. They're all quite coked, as you'd expect. That's years of running on tick over, I imagine. So when I feel the bores here, there's a pronounced lip, which is what I'd expect if it was worn. Obviously, but no sign of any blowing between the bores, so that's really good. So the next stage is to degrease the head before I start stripping it down. I'm going to put it in this container and soak it in degreaser. But before I do that, I'm going to jet wash it because it's absolutely minging. So I'm going to try and get the worst of it off with a jet wash first. So that's been in there a good few hours now. It's had a jolly good soak. I thought there was a crack there. There's a bit of hair. Phew. Right, rinse it down. Well, that's done a good job of getting the worst of it off. Well, that's the cleanest that's been for a long while. Loads of the carbon has disappeared already off of this, which is great. That saves me some time. I might be able to get away without replacing any of the valves, but we'll see. I'll give it a proper assessment. That might be it for now. If so, I'll see you on the next one.